"My daughter chose you, the billionaire," said. The single dad went still. They laughed when Nathan Hale walked into Alderton Academy's fall showcase, carrying a paper bag lunch and a child's finger-painted sign that said, "Go Maya," in uneven letters. Courtney Aldrich whispered to her husband Derek loud enough for the parents nearby to hear. "Isn't that the janitor?" The Alderton Academy showcase was the kind of event where wealth dressed itself in the language of education. Marble entrance hall, a string quartet near the doors, fathers in Patek Philippe watches, and mothers in Loro Piana who knew each other from Aspen and spoke of their children's futures the way generals speak of campaigns. Courtney Aldrich stood near the welcome table in cream cashmere, her hand resting on Derek's arm, watching Nathan cross the atrium. He wore dark jeans and a collared shirt that had been ironed carefully that morning. He held the paper sign Maya had painted the night before, green and purple, because those were her colors. And he found her row in the auditorium and sat down among parents who shifted, barely perceptibly, away from him. Courtney said something else to Derek. He nodded without looking up from his phone. What Courtney didn't know was that the man she'd mistaken for the janitor had turned down a $300,000 job offer 6 months ago. What none of them knew was that the woman who had made that offer, Sylvia Park, founder of Park Capital, net worth $2.1 billion, was in this very building. That she had been watching Nathan Hale for 4 months. That she had a request to make. And that by the end of this evening, Courtney Aldrich's seat on the school's Parent Leadership Council would be quietly, permanently revoked. But first, Maya Hale had to play her cello solo, and Nathan Hale had to watch his daughter perform, which was, as far as he was concerned, the only thing that had ever mattered about today. 14 hours earlier, Nathan woke at 5:15 to the sound of Maya rehearsing. She was 10. She played with the focused intensity of a child who had decided that music was a serious endeavor, which meant rehearsal at 5:15 on showcase day was not a question, but a fact. He lay in bed listening to the Saint-Saëns cello suite coming through her closed door, the same 8 bars, repeated, until she was satisfied with them, which took 11 passes. He got up, made coffee, left a small glass of orange juice outside her door with a note. "You've got this. Also, please eat something before we leave. Dad." He stood at the kitchen window while the coffee brewed. The apartment was clean in the particular way of single-parent households. Nothing extra, everything deliberate. A cello bow hung on the wall because it was safer there than in the case. A shoe rack by the door, with exactly 2 pairs of his and 4 pairs of hers. A whiteboard on the refrigerator that said, in Maya's handwriting, "Showcase, do not forget sign." He had not forgotten the sign. Nathan Hale had been a structural engineer for 11 years. Senior project manager at Delwick & Associates, which handled commercial builds across 4 states. It was the kind of career that had looked, from the outside, like a trajectory, upward, stable, going somewhere. From the inside, it had looked like airports and quarterly reports and a conference call he'd taken from the hospital room the night Maya was born, because the Portland build was behind schedule and the client was calling. He had taken the call. He didn't anymore. Claire, Maya's mother, had left when Maya was 3, not dramatically, just incrementally, and then all at once. She was in Seattle now, remarried. Maya saw her twice a year and had stopped asking questions about it that Nathan didn't know how to answer. He gave her what he had instead. Mornings and orange juice and a handmade sign in her 2 favorite colors. He'd left Delwick 18 months ago when the travel schedule made it impossible to be home reliably by 5, when Maya's teacher had left him 3 voicemails he hadn't returned until after 10 p.m., when he'd missed her 3rd grade spring concert because of a site visit in Denver he couldn't reschedule. He'd given notice on a Friday, driven home, and been in the audience for her fourth-grade fall showcase the following October. He'd taken contract work since. Local projects, half the income, all the hours that mattered. Maya appeared in the kitchen at 6:30, bow in hand, hair still unbrushed, orange juice gone. "The second passage," she said. "Still the second passage? The D is flat and I don't know why." "Can I hear it?" She played it, standing in the kitchen in pajamas, bow in hand, with the focused gravity of a child who did not yet know that most people never find something they care about this much. He listened. He was not a musician. He did not know what a flat D sounded like. He knew what his daughter looked like when she was close to something, but not there yet. "Again," he said. She played it again. One more time. Third time, she paused before the passage, breathed differently, and played through. Something changed. She felt it too. She lowered the bow. "Was that it?" "That was it," he said. She looked at the bow, back up at him. "How do you know? You can't even read music." "No," he said. "But I know when you know." She thought about this, accepted it. "Make me eggs," she said. The Alderton Showcase was held in the school's Performing Arts Center, a building that had cost $14 million and been funded primarily by 3 families, all of whom had their names on the wall near the entrance. Nathan sat in his seat with the Go Maya sign folded in half on his knee because the performance hadn't started yet, and he was trying to be discreet. The man to his right had not moved away, exactly, but had oriented himself toward his wife at an angle that made conversation impossible. The woman behind Nathan discussed, without lowering her voice, the price of the renovation to the secondary stage. Courtney Aldrich appeared at the end of his row 15 minutes before the program began. She didn't sit. She stood at the entrance to the row and addressed the group of parents near Nathan with the practiced warmth of a woman who had spent years making exclusion feel like administration. "Just a reminder, the parent leadership section is rows D through F, right side. If you received a council invitation, that's where we'll be." Her eyes moved to Nathan. "Are you in the right place?" "I'm in seat C14, he said. "Right." She smiled. "I just want to make sure everyone's comfortable." "I'm comfortable," he said. He looked at her steadily. She looked back. Then she smiled again, the version that meant nothing, and moved on. The woman to Nathan's left, who had not previously spoken to him, leaned slightly in his direction. "She does that to everyone who didn't donate to the renovation fund," she murmured. "Her name is Courtney Aldrich. Her husband is on the board." "I figured," he said. "I'm Rachel Kwan. My son plays violin." "Nathan Hale. My daughter plays cello." "Which student?" "Maya. She's doing the Saint-Saëns." Rachel turned to look at him more directly. "Maya Hale is your daughter?" "She is. She's extraordinary. The faculty talks about her." He looked at the stage. The children were filing in. "I know," he said. "She figured it out herself. I just drive her to practice." What he didn't say, what he never said, was that he'd given up a $140,000 salary to be the one doing the driving. But the woman 2 rows behind him had already pulled out her phone. She had recognized something in the exchange with Courtney. She typed a short message, set the phone face down on her knee. Her name was Sylvia Park. She had been at Alderton Academy tonight because her niece was in the junior strings ensemble. And because she had 4 months ago been told about a structural engineer who had walked away from a senior position at one of the best firms in the state. Not for another offer, not for a startup, but to be home by 5. She had asked to know more. What she'd learned had stayed with her. She hadn't planned to introduce herself tonight. She'd planned to watch. But then she watched Nathan Hale hold up a finger-painted sign as Maya walked to the center of the stage. Watched his face, completely unguarded. Every other thing in the room simply gone. And she put her phone away and paid attention to the girl with the cello. Maya Hale played the Saint-Saëns Suite No. 1 in G major. She played the second passage, the one with the D that had been flat that morning, and did not flatten it. She played it the way she had in the kitchen at 6:30, with the breath before it, with the knowledge that she knew. The auditorium went quiet in the way that large rooms go quiet when something is actually happening in them instead of being performed at them. Nathan did not clap between movements. He sat very still. He had learned, when Maya was 6, that she could see the audience from the stage and that she looked for him during long rests, and that what she needed to see was stillness, not performance. So he was still. He held the sign, folded on his knee. He watched his daughter play. When she finished, the room applauded. She bowed, a practiced small bow, nothing theatrical, and walked back to her seat. She did not look for his reaction. She already knew. He texted her when she was seated. The D was perfect. Her reply came 30 seconds later. I know. He smiled at his phone. Beside him, Rachel Kwan pressed her hand briefly to her own chest. How long has she been playing? Since she was 5, he said. She asked for lessons. I said I couldn't afford them at the time. A pause. She started teaching herself from YouTube. By the time I figured out how to budget for lessons, the teacher said she already had the fundamentals. Rachel stared at him. She taught herself? The basics. She's quick. Behind them, Sylvia Park folded her program once. Twice. Then she made a decision. Intermission. The lobby. Nathan stood with a paper cup of coffee that tasted like an institution and was exactly right for that reason. Courtney Aldrich found him again, which he had not expected. She was alone this time, without Derek, without the audience. She had the clipped brightness of someone executing a plan they'd already mapped out. Mr. Hale. She extended her hand. I want to apologize for earlier. I didn't introduce myself properly. Courtney Aldrich, I chair the Parent Leadership Council. I know, he said. Your daughter is remarkably talented. The word remarkably did considerable work. We'd love to have her involved in our scholarship committee's Young Artist Spotlight next quarter. Wonderful visibility. Of course, it involves some commitment from the family, attending certain events, meeting our donors, a few evenings a month, some Saturday breakfasts with council members. She glanced at his coffee cup. It's a good room to be in, if you understand what I mean. He understood exactly what she meant. I appreciate the offer, he said. But Maya's schedule is full. Practice, school, one social thing a week so she doesn't lose her mind. We keep it simple. Courtney's smile maintained itself. Well, the offer stands. We're always looking for students who represent the school well. She paused, one beat too precisely timed. Particularly at the scholarship level. There it was. Maya's not on scholarship, he said evenly. Courtney blinked. Something recalibrated behind her eyes. Oh, I just assumed. She's not. He finished his coffee. But I appreciate you looking out for her. He found a trash can for his cup and turned back toward the auditorium. He'd been here before, the assumption, the recalibration, the face people made when the number they'd assigned him didn't match the reality. He was used to it. It slid off him the way most things did now. He had learned, in the 18 months since leaving Delwick, what actually required his energy and what did not. Courtney Aldrich did not. He was halfway across the lobby when a woman he didn't recognize fell into step beside him. "Mr. Hale." Her voice was quiet, direct, no warmth performed in it, which meant the warmth that was there was real. "I'm Sylvia Park. Do you have a moment before the second half?" He stopped. "Do I know you?" "No, but I know a little about you." A pause. "I made it my business too, after someone mentioned you to me 4 months ago." "Who mentioned me?" "James Delwick." The name landed. His former managing director. "He didn't speak ill of you," she said quickly. "Quite the opposite. He said you were the best project manager he'd ever lost, and that he'd lost you to your daughter's cello recitals." A slight smile. He said it with admiration. Nathan said nothing for a moment. "What do you want, Ms. Park?" "To offer you something. On my terms, not hers." She glanced briefly toward where Courtney had been. "But not here. Not tonight." She offered him a card, small, cream-colored, her name in a single clean font. "My office. Tuesday, if you're available. If not, we'll find a time." He looked at the card. "What kind of offer?" "The kind that doesn't require you to sacrifice Saturdays." A pause. "Or cello recitals." He put the card in his pocket. He didn't say yes. He didn't say no. The lights flickered for the second half. "Your daughter," Sylvia Park said, already turning. "The second passage. That was the hard one, wasn't it?" "Yes," he said. She didn't flatten the D. He looked at her. "I noticed," she said simply. "I'm a former pianist. We always notice." She moved toward her seat. He stood there a moment longer. Then he went back to his. But the consequences were already in motion. What Nathan didn't know was that in the 47 minutes between his conversation with Courtney and the end of the showcase, Sylvia Park had sent 2 messages. One to the Alderton board chair, one to her own legal team. By Monday morning, 2 things would happen that would change everything. One for Courtney Aldrich and one for Nathan Hale. Neither of them would be expecting either. He brought Maya to Tuesday's meeting. This was not the plan. The plan was Mrs. Patterson, who watched Maya when needed, but Mrs. Patterson had a dental appointment. When Nathan called Sylvia Park's office to reschedule, the assistant said without hesitation, "Bring her." Ms. Park said that would be fine. So Maya sat in the lobby of Park Capital's offices in her school uniform, cello case beside her, reading a library book with the calm of a child who found unfamiliar environments neither intimidating nor interesting. Just a different location for doing what she was already doing. The receptionist brought her a hot chocolate without being asked. Maya looked at it, looked at the receptionist. "Thank you," she said. "That was observant of you." The receptionist, 26, sharp, appeared briefly charmed. Sylvia Park's office had floor-to-ceiling windows, a conference table that could seat 12, and one framed piece of art on the wall. A pencil sketch of 2 hands, one adult, one child. Nathan noticed it immediately. The kind of thing that doesn't announce its meaning, just has it. Sylvia entered without ceremony, sat across from him. No folder, no presentation. Just the steady presence of a person whose authority didn't need props. "I'll be direct," she said. "I have a project. Structural assessment and redesign of 3 mixed-use buildings in the Northeast District. 12 months, possibly extending to 24. Significant scope. The pay is better than Delwick." She paused. "The hours are what you say they are." Nathan looked at her. "What does that mean?" "It means I need the work done well. I don't care when you do it. 1 standing meeting, Thursday mornings, 9 a.m. Everything else is yours to arrange." "Why?" She looked at him for a moment. Because James Delwick told me you did your best work at 6 a.m. before anyone was in the office, and your worst work in back-to-back meetings. I've learned to work with how people actually work, not how org charts assume they work. Nathan said nothing. There's one more thing. A real pause, not rhetorical. I'm going to tell you why I'm hiring you specifically, and I mean it factually, not sentimentally. All right. 6 months ago, you turned down a position with Caldwell Group. She named the firm. Nathan went still. 60% equity stake. Significant package. You turned it down because the travel schedule conflicted with your daughter's performance calendar. He hadn't known anyone outside that negotiation knew. James Delwick told Caldwell's managing partner. Sylvia said, as if she'd read the question. Who told someone who told me? She looked at him steadily. I'm not hiring you despite that decision. I'm hiring you because of it. I need someone whose judgment I can trust on a $40 million project. You made a $300,000 judgment call based on what you actually value. That's the kind of engineer I want on my buildings. Nathan went very still. He was not accustomed to the decision being spoken of plainly, without the slight, careful pause that people used when they were trying to be kind about what they considered a financial mistake. Sylvia Park wasn't being kind. She was stating a position. Ms. Park, he said. Sylvia, my daughter is in your lobby. I know. She's the reason I turned down the Caldwell offer. I know that too. Then you should know that whatever I take on, the work matters. But she comes first. If there's ever a conflict, she wins. Every time. Sylvia Park was quiet, not hesitation. The consideration of someone being told something important and giving it the space it deserved. Mr. Hale, she said, I have a daughter too. She's 31. She calls me every Sunday. Her voice didn't change register. The reason she calls every Sunday is that I made different choices than you're making, and she is generous enough to have forgiven me for them. A pause. I'm not hiring you in spite of your priorities. I'm hiring you because I spent 30 years learning what yours cost, and I would like to work with someone who already knows. The room was quiet. Through the glass wall, Nathan could see the lobby. Maya had finished her library book and was now in conversation with the receptionist, who was showing her something on a computer screen. Maya was nodding with the specific, unhurried focus she gave to things she found genuinely interesting. Sylvia followed his gaze. She taught herself the fundamentals before you could afford lessons, she said. Yes. My daughter never saw me hold up a sign, Sylvia said quietly. Not self-pity, just a fact she'd made peace with. I wanted to see what that looked like before I made you an offer. She slid a single sheet of paper across the table. Contract summary. Clean and short. I wanted to see the father before I called the engineer. He looked at the number. He looked at it again. This is more than I made at Delwick, he said. Significantly more, she agreed. You've been undervaluing your work since you went to contracts. I've seen your project history. You've been charging 60% of what you're worth. He had known this. He'd done it anyway, because 60% paid the rent and the cello lessons and kept him home by 5. He hadn't considered the alternative because the alternative had always meant the other trade-off. I can be home by 5? Not a question, a condition. Every day, Sylvia said, or 3:30 if there's a recital. He looked at the contract, looked at the sketch of the 2 hands on the wall, looked at his daughter through the glass, who was now apparently explaining something to the receptionist using her hands to demonstrate a musical passage. He thought about the Caldwell offer, about the Friday he'd turned it down and driven home, and hadn't told Maya why he looked relieved. About every choice that had looked, from the outside, like loss. "I need a week to read this properly," he said. "Of course." He folded the contract once, put it in his pocket beside the card that had started all of this. "One question?" he said. "Yes." "In the lobby Tuesday morning, my daughter is going to want to know if you're a good person. She'll ask me. How should I answer?" Sylvia Park looked toward the lobby, at Maya, who had produced a small notebook from her bag and was writing something down with the receptionist pointing at the screen. "Tell her," Sylvia said slowly, "that I'm trying to be, and that your presence in my building is part of how I'm going about it." Nathan signed the contract on Thursday. He read every line. He asked 3 questions by email. Sylvia answered all 3 within the hour, herself, not through her assistant. He told Maya over dinner. She received the information with careful attention. More money than before? Significantly. Home by 5? Every day. She twirled her fork once. Does she seem like a good person? She said she's trying to be. Maya considered this as the standard of evidence it was. That's actually the right answer, she said. People who say they're definitely good usually aren't. She returned to her pasta. Okay. Does this mean I can get the better rosin? He laughed, the full kind, unexpected. Yes, it means you can get the better rosin. She pumped her fist once, quickly, under the table. By the following Monday, Courtney Aldrich had been informed that the Parent Leadership Council was undergoing a structural review. Her chairmanship was being transitioned. The school's board chair delivered the news in a brief call. The decision had followed feedback from a foundation donor who attended the fall showcase and had raised concerns about the council's culture of welcome toward newer families. By Wednesday, Derek Aldrich had learned through a colleague that the foundation donor in question had announced a significant gift, a new music practice wing. The naming announcement was scheduled for spring. Courtney called 2 council members. Both were suddenly occupied. She tried a third. Same result. She understood eventually what had happened. She had the sense, at least, to know there was nothing to say to Nathan Hale that would improve the situation. She said nothing. 3 months later, Nathan woke at 6:20. He could hear Maya in her room, not rehearsing, just moving, which meant she was organizing something, which meant she had a plan he didn't know about yet. He made coffee, left orange juice outside her door, stood at the kitchen window. The whiteboard said, "Spring Showcase, 11 weeks. Elgar, yes." He was 3 weeks into the Park Capital project. The work was good. He could feel it the way you feel work that is actually yours, not the work you do to maintain a title. But the problem that fits your mind and rewards your attention. He had met with Sylvia twice for Thursday mornings, both times direct and efficient, both times ending on schedule. She had asked once how Maya's cello was going. He'd said it was going well. She'd nodded and returned to the project, and that had been exactly the right amount. Maya appeared in the kitchen. Uniform, half-brushed hair, bow in hand from long habit. "Dad," she said, climbing onto her chair. "Yeah. I've been thinking about the spring showcase. I know. I saw the whiteboard. I want to try the Elgar." He poured her orange juice, set it in front of her. The Elgar cello concerto was not a piece for a 10-year-old. It was also not a piece that would be beyond Maya Hale in 11 weeks if she decided it wasn't. "Does your teacher think you're ready?" "She thinks I'm almost ready. I think I'm ready." He sat down. "What happens if you try and it's not there yet?" She thought about it seriously. "Then I play the Dvořák, and I come back to the Elgar." And if it is there? She looked at him with the even, unhurried steadiness of someone who had not yet learned to be afraid of the things she wanted. Then I play the Elgar, she said. He drank his coffee. Outside, October light, clear and cold-looking. He thought about a Friday 18 months ago, a resignation letter, a drive home in the quiet. He thought about the Caldwell offer, about a conference room in a building downtown where he'd pushed a contract back across the table while the managing partner's face went through several expressions. He thought about the drive home from that meeting, the way the city looked ordinary through the windshield, the way he'd felt, not like someone who'd made a mistake, but like someone who'd finally said out loud what he already knew. He thought about Sylvia Park's hand sketch on the wall, about the question Maya would ask if she saw it. Whose hands are those? And the answer he imagined, which was just a reminder. Call your teacher today, he said. Tell her you want to start on it. Maya allowed the small, controlled smile she had never quite learned to suppress fully. Okay. Brush the rest of your hair. It's fine. Half your hair is brushed, Maya. The important half. He looked at her. She looked at him. He lost the stare down, as he always did, because she had inherited his stubbornness at its full strength and then found efficiencies he hadn't. He made her eggs. She ate them. They left at 7:30, cello case in the back seat, radio low. He dropped her at the gate, watched her walk in, the particular walk of a child who knew exactly where she was going, and found the surrounding noise somewhat beside the point. He sat in the parked car for a moment before pulling out. The Go Maya sign was in the glove compartment. Green and purple, her two colors. The letters still uneven. He'd kept it after the showcase, without quite deciding to. Some things you keep without a reason you could explain, and the reason reveals itself later, slowly, in the quality of ordinary mornings. He had everything he'd walked away from a $300,000 offer to have. It turned out that was, by any measure that mattered, the better number.